Oh,
Okay, you're live.
great. Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to everyone who's joining us on Zoom. Calling the meeting to order at 6:36 p.m. Let's see, does someone just
It was me.
Okay, cool. Could we begin with the language line information, please? Could I ask the Bangla interpretation line to please share the information? Are folks on Zoom able to hear me? Yes. Okay. Bangla interpretation line, could you share the language line information, please?
This is Bangla interpreter Dalwar Sheikh, and I am. Is it our line is open?
Oh, is there?
Language line.
We're taking a look now. Okay. In the meantime, could the Spanish interpretation line share the language information, please?
Buenas tardes. Para escuchar esta conferencia en español, pueden marcar el número telefónico 347-966-4114 con el ID para español 813-850-178, seguido de la tecla numeral. Una vez más, para aquellos que quieren escuchar esta reunión en español, pueden marcar el número telefónico 347-966-4114 con el ID para español 813-850-178, seguido de la tecla numeral. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much.
Spanish
And the Mandarin line, please?
Okay. 各位家长晚上好，有需要国语翻译的，请打专线电话347-966-4114，密码 ID 呢是907-906-185井，输入密码后请记得再按井字，我会在聊天时留下电话号码以及密码 ID， 以供大家查阅。谢谢。Thank you. Mandarin is done.
Great, thank you. And Bangla, were you able to get into the interpretation line? Can you share that information now?
শুভ সন্ধ্যা। এখানে বাংলা ভাষাভাষী যারা আছেন সবাইকে শুভ সন্ধ্যা। আর এই অনুষ্ঠানটি আপনারা যদি বাংলায় শুনতে চান তাহলে আপনারা ডায়াল করবেন 347-966-4114। আমি আবার বলছি, এই অনুষ্ঠানটি আপনারা যদি বাংলায় শুনতে চান তাহলে ডায়াল করবেন 347-966-4114। তারপর একটা আইডি নাম্বার দিতে হবে, সেটা হচ্ছে 851-251-772 হ্যাশ দিতে হবে। আবার আইডি নাম্বারটা বলছি 851-251-772 হ্যাশ। So Bangla announcement completed.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here to the us. Let's see, Kim, where are you? Could you share the public comment protocol, please?
Good evening. Tonight's in-person meeting will include a public comment period at the end of the meeting. When you comment, please comment on the topic, respect the privacy of others, and please do not include names of children or staff. Guests who make inappropriate comments will be removed from the meeting. During the public meeting period, those attending virtually may raise their hand or to comment or indicate in the chat that they would like to speak. Speakers will be called on one at a time and will be allowed 1 minute each for comment. We will hear from the speakers as the time allows. If you have a question outside this comment period, please signal it by raising your hand or writing it in the chat. If time permits, we will respond to these additional questions that arise at other times. It is possible that not every comment question will be given time, in which case we encourage you to write to the CEC at CEC15@schools.nyc.gov. CEC members will also be given a comment period. Members will be called upon and are each permitted 1 2-minute comment or question.
Thank you. Karen, can you roll call, please?
Of course. Councilmember Anna Maria Aguilar. Councilmember Angelica Cesario. Present. Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Present.
Councilmember Ken Eby. Councilmember Angelica Jananan. Present. Councilmember Basil Crandall.
Absent.
Councilmember Katina Rogers.
Present.
Councilmember Kim Wanless. Councilmember Shigsa. Yes. Councilmember Harris Warren.
So I think we have quorum, yes?
Yay.
Good job, everybody. All right. Unfortunately, Principal Pradal, couldn't be here this evening. But we are very, very grateful to the principal and to the school for hosting us tonight at PS 38. I'll move straight into the president's report, and we will just continue on with the agenda from there. So welcome back to spring break. Thank you so much to everybody who's joining us on Zoom for making time. We know the transition back into regular schedules can be a lot. I can say for myself, I'm so happy that after such a long, cold winter, we're finally fully into real spring with all of the flowers and all of the warmth, and I'm very happy for that. Whether you celebrated Passover or Easter or just enjoyed a change of pace or did full contact parenting, I hope that everybody had a wonderful break and feels ready for this next stretch ahead as we enter the tail end of the school year. And we have jumped right back into full swing. I know statewide testing is probably on many parents' minds. Some folks at the table had their kids starting on tests today. My kids started today as well. So that's something that we can be talking about in today's meeting and in upcoming meetings. I know that lots of things are difficult right now, and so I want to be sure to celebrate the good things. So shortly before the break, CEC 15 co-sponsored a beautiful event organized by PS 39's POJEC, or Parents of Gender Expansive Kids. This was a propaganda party hosted at Interference Archive, and propaganda was in the sense of spreading ideas. It was a joyful afternoon. People were making buttons and t-shirts and zines and posters and really just coming together to uplift and support gender expansive kids and families. My daughter and I were there. I can attest to just the sparkling atmosphere of it all. It was really such a day. So big thanks to Angelica Jananan, both for being a part of making that event happen on the project side and for bringing it to the CEC's attention so that we could support it as well. We would also like to welcome our brand new member, Anna Maria Aguilar. Anna, thank you so much for joining us today. We just cannot wait to be working. So thank you for being here, and I'm really glad to have you as part of our team. Thank you. We are hoping that this event at Interference Archive was the first of many family-initiated programs that CEC 15 can help to support. While our organizing power as a council is limited by time and energy and all of the things, we also know that we have a platform to help amplify and connect work that is already happening. And so while this event was something that was fairly new for us, at least for the council in this iteration, we hope that it will be something that's a growing and ongoing focus in the months ahead and as we look to next year. Another way that we are working on deeper community connections is through our working groups, which likewise started up shortly before the break. Each working group focuses on a broad theme. The three themes are operations and infrastructure, equity and language access, and instruction and programming. And each one offers a way for community members and council members to come together and connect between meetings to discuss ideas and possibilities that could support the district and can then be brought to council meetings in an advisory capacity. If you're interested in joining those conversations, please email us at cec15@schools.nyc.gov. And you'll be able to hear updates about how these first meetings have gone during the business portion of tonight's meeting. Shifting to a different topic, as you may know, New York City Public Schools recently rolled out a preliminary policy on the use of generative AI in schools. That policy is available at the link I'm going to drop into the chat. They are specifically inviting feedback from the community during this initial window of sharing these guidelines. For my part, and this is speaking just for myself, not on behalf of the council, but I can share that I have significant concerns about the guidelines as they exist currently. I don't see anything in them about equity, instructional efficacy, or student mental health in the vendor selection criteria. I wonder what kind of professional development teachers and staff will have available to them around AI use and critical engagement of AI. And I wonder how the district will mitigate the risks that AI use can pose for kids with intersecting marginalized identities and needs. So I think that there are many questions that remain to be answered. I've shared my comments through the portal that NYCPS has offered. And I would urge others who feel any questions or concerns that you have about it to please share your feedback with the DOE as well. We'll be learning more shortly from the superintendent as well during his report. So I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more of the details from the district side. And then following the superintendent's report, we will hear from the Coalition for Equitable Education Funding. A number of members of the council have expressed an interest in understanding with more detail how the budget comes together, how the city budget and the state budget impacts what's actually happening in our kids' classrooms. So this is one step on helping to educate all of us, as well as having some stronger community education around those budgetary practices. So many thanks to Malaysia De Piero for joining us tonight for that presentation. The next item on the agenda is Superintendent Alvarez's report. I do notice that Councilmember Alexa Aviles is in the room. Councilmember Aviles, would you like to make any comments before we pass it to Superintendent Alvarez?
Sure, thank you so much. Hi everyone. Thank you as always for participating and all the work that you do. Really appreciate it. I guess I just wanted to make really two quick comments. Obviously, you all are hearing about, the city budget is in process. We are, in fact, in the middle of many negotiations, still waiting for the state budget, which is, I think, on its potential third extender, because it has serious implications for us at the city. Nevertheless, there is a lot of conversation going on around, obviously we're a little bit in a holding pattern to understand what kind of revenues will be coming down through the state to be able to then determine what is kind of the final state of affairs. I think we're going to be having some really difficult conversations, as you have all heard. The potential budget shortfall is significant. Obviously, well, not so obviously, but the city council representatives will certainly be on the front line fighting for our schools and our children to make sure that they get all the resources that they need and deserve. As well as, all our classrooms and educators get the tools that they need. So more to come on that front. The other thing I just wanted to touch upon, also, I have serious concerns about the AI usage, the lack of guardrails, the lack of privacy. There's some, what has been rolled out to date is deeply problematic. There are no guardrails. There are so many studies that have already demonstrated generative AI truly has negative impacts on student mental health, social, emotional, but also developmentally. I was talking to actually a neuroscientist today who had been delving relatively deeply into the impacts. And any notion that, from K to second grade seems fine, and 3 to, let's say, fifth or even eighth grade. Wait, the reverse. K-2 is off the table, but suddenly when you're in third grade, all the way even to eighth grade is suddenly fine, is absolutely goes against everything we know about child development. So I just really want to encourage parents to really look into what is happening here, look into the privacy problems that we are seeing, to the potential implications, and we need to make sure that DOE does everything in its power to ensure that all the safeguards, the privacy, the protection of children's development, um, the efficacy of the programs that are being used. I mean, we are seeing these incredibly large educational tech companies just getting crazy contracts with very little assessments and evaluation. We should be taking a pause, parents, because what is happening, we should all be calling for a moratorium on any use of AI until we fully understand what we are unleashing on our children. And I know some educators are using it. And I think there are enormous amounts of research to give us all serious pause. So I just want to offer that, and happy to have more conversation. And of course, this is a technology that is moving so quickly. It is hard to hold your hands around, but it's kind of like a fast moving car. And I don't think we want to put our children in harm's way. So thank you all. Happy to answer any questions. And you can certainly reach out to our office at 718-439-9012 or by email district38@council.nyc.gov.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Vilas. I really appreciate hearing your stance on how the AI situation is evolving as well. Thank you. All right, Superintendent Alvarez, have you?
All set.
Have we teed you up well enough to talk about?
Well, what I can start off by saying is, I'm not gonna have a lot of the answers to the questions you're asking. Obviously, there's a period and phase that we're going through that allows for this process to criticize every and anything that's already been put out, in an attempt to get to another level. And I'll talk about what we have done as a district to ensure that every school, at the very least at the SLT level and the PAPTA level, are sharing that information this month of April that we're tracking as a district to ensure that every school has forms of representation and feedback to the city about what the concerns and other things are. And I do have to start off by saying, and I've said this at the DLT, it's the first time that, from my perspective, our city has taken this type of rollout stance, where it's not only in phases, but we put something out and we're saying, criticize it, give feedback, tell us what's wrong, tell us what's missing, tell us what we haven't thought about that is important to the community. And then taking that information, triangulating it, and turning it into something that becomes the guide. So I know that everyone thinks a guide has come out as to what the finalized guide is. It's not. So this is just preliminary phase. I just wanted to touch on that. But as we go through, I just wanted to touch on beginning by recognizing important observances this month. April, including Passover and Easter that just passed, Arab American Heritage Month, Autism Awareness Month, National Poetry Month, Earth Day, and I'm sure that there's several other recognized days that come up every single year that they add to the calendar that I'm not aware of. But then also thinking about, as we look ahead in May, we continue that commitment, right? On the next slide. Oh, you're on it. Where we celebrate educators during teacher and principal appreciation. I want to add assistant principals on there because they're the unknown or unsung heroes that we don't hear about much, but we always talk about principal and teacher, and we oftentimes forget not only our assistant principals, but we also forget our nurses, we forget our school aides, we forget our paraprofessionals who are part of what makes our school system run like an oil machine. But honoring Jewish American and Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and recognizing Mental Health Awareness Month, and something dear to me, Memorial Day, as I'm a veteran myself. So this is all part of our commitment in supporting both academic success and student well-being. If we turn to the next slide, some of the things that we're going to be talking about today, it's really some of the celebrations that we have, some preliminary AI updates, summer programming, where we are as it relates to the district comprehensive education plan's progress monitoring, some upcoming events, and then I'll close, obviously with some Q&A. And so if we look at the next slide, I'm really incredibly proud of the work that's happening across our district as it relates to project-based learning. As you can see on the slide, students are engaging in high-quality project-based learning experiences. These projects reflect deep thinking, collaboration, and real-world application. I was excited to be at 51 this year and seeing how the projects just keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And the enthusiasm from the students just gets even deeper and deeper and deeper. And that joy of learning combined with what kids need to be able to know how to do in each grade level is just the recipe for success. So I'm glad to thank this CEC and prior CECs that have pushed me in that commitment to ensuring that as a district, that we're thinking about what enrichment looks like for our students at all schools, at all capacities. So I want to thank you for all of that. This is what rigor, engaging instruction looks like across our schools. So we'll go to the next slide. We're going to get into our AI. I'm going to transition us into an important topic that you all know, artificial intelligence in New York City public schools. I'm going to, again, caveat this with, I don't have a lot of answers. And one of the reasons why I won't have a lot of answers is because we're going through a phased process. And in this phased process, we're looking at it in stages. So stage one, we are giving you something that we're thinking we want to put out, but we want your feedback. And as I heard from our CEC president, as I heard from our city council member who represents our district, there's a lot of concerns. I share and echo some of those concerns because at the superintendent's level, I have shared them. We have had the district leadership team meeting where we shared this with the district leadership team, and there were some shared concerns. What I have done before I begin the AI is to share that this presentation is going to be also presented at every single SLT this month at every single school in this district. In addition to that, there's an expectation that the PAPTA is being shared this information as well, giving as many opportunities for parents to provide feedback at that moment. So let me just be clear. SLTs will meet, have conversations about this, be given the opportunity then and there to provide feedback and to provide feedback later on, but at least then and there to put something in of their concerns. I want to also be clear. There is no expectation that what you provide in terms of feedback is right, wrong, or indifferent. We want to hear everything and anything that comes to mind because that only helps us get better with the responses we create when it comes to the phase two portion of this phase two portion, which ends May 8th, and I'll talk about that in a little while, where the feedback stage now allows us to triangulate that information. And at the end of June, being able to put that playbook or guide based on the feedback, based on what was already initiated, as a more comprehensive approach to the response to AI. So I'm hoping that what you have entered today, Katina and others, that is taken into consideration as the city revamps what it put out originally. So it's at the surface level. So really, on the next slide, our goal is to provide clarity on three things. Our stance as a system at its most basic level, what we expect from schools, and what comes next. So on the next slide, at the center of this work is a shared commitment. AI is already here. We all know, right? Whether we're seeing it in schools or not, it's everywhere, right? The question is whether we will build systems that ensure it is used responsibly, to Katina's point, equitably, and in service of all students. And so on the next slide, our students are already interacting with AI outside of school. We all know this. We try to curtail it as much as we can. There are ways that they're getting access, right? So our responsibility is to ensure that they are prepared to use it safely, think critically, and make responsible decisions. New York City Public Schools is taking a phased approach, building understanding, gathering your feedback, building capacity, and releasing a citywide AI playbook in June that will then allow schools to prepare for September with clarity on guidelines and guardrails for AI. Next slide. As we move forward, our core commitments remain unchanged. Strong relationships between students and teachers remains at the central part of New York City public schools. Literacy and mathematics remain foundational. Technology supports learning. It does not replace the educator. Next slide. It's important to be clear about what AI is and what it is not. AI can support tasks like generating content and analyzing information, but it is not human thinking. It is not always accurate, and it cannot replace professional judgment. This is why the AI use must be approached critically, and your feedback is important to figuring out what may be missed as it relates to how New York City Public Schools is looking at a red, yellow, and green light approach to AI. So on the next slide, I'm going to start off with the red approach, which are the non-negotiables. Cannot happen, will not happen in New York City Public Schools, and if it is happening and we are aware of it, it will stop. There are clear non-negotiable boundaries. AI will never be used to make decisions about grades or grading, placement of students, discipline, or special education. It will never replace educators or misuse student data. And these protections are grounded in law and policy, from the federal all the way down to our local laws, federal, state, and local. Next slide. And you can see some of the things as to what it is and what it isn't as I put on the PowerPoint slide, and you're more than welcome to ask further. In our yellow, which is to proceed with caution, this is what requires schools and teachers alike to make informed decisions and judgments, which if we go back to what I started with, teachers are the ones who have to make these judgment calls in certain instances. While that's the case, I recognize that many people, me going to some of the chancellor's town halls already, being a part of the DLT and hearing concerns there, and also hearing concerns from principals when we share this information with principals. There are already a few things that people have concerns about, and I implore you all to provide the feedback. I also would like to hear the feedback, as I'm also going to sit here and collect information from you all when you're asking either your questions or making your statements, so that I can provide that more detailed feedback from you to central office so that they have more detailed information as it relates to our CEC. But the yellow, these are areas where AI can be used, but only with strong educator oversight. This includes analyzing student data, supporting diverse learners, and students' use of the AI tool itself. In all cases, educators must review and validate the outputs. Now, where the city feels very comfortable in proceeding with confidence, on our next slide, there are also areas where AI can be used confidently, we believe. This includes planning, drafting communications, translation, and professional learning. Even in these cases, educators remain in control of decisions and outcomes. These are just a few. On the next slide, the AI playbook. As we are continuing to build towards a June AI playbook, as shown on this slide, there are still key questions we are working through, including academic integrity, family communication, and responsible use. This is ongoing work, and community input is essential. And just because I didn't share it doesn't mean that we don't stop at mental health, as well as equitable usage and outcomes, and other things that you may be thinking about that I didn't mention. On our next slide. As it relates to data protection, protecting student data is a top priority. All AI tools must go through what's called the IRMA approval process. Students' data will never be sold or used to train AI systems to learn from it, to be able to use it in another way. And multiple laws are ensuring that student privacy and security. And they're all listed there, such as FERPA, New York State Education Law 2B, COPA, IDEA, New York City Public Schools Parent Bill of Rights for data privacy and security, just to name a few. On the next slide. So what are the next steps here? Our next steps include continuing to engage schools, gather feedback, and ensure thoughtful implementation at the school level. We have asked for every single school's SLT and families to actively participate in this process. Our district office is gathering the dates in which these meetings are occurring at the schools. What feedback has been provided with the minutes of the school's SLT meeting minutes to be submitted to the district office for our review. And we're ensuring that the PAPTAs are also doing the same. So that it's at the school leadership team level, which has teachers and other staff members and parents involved. And then it's at the parent level of the PAPTA meetings. District 15 has expected that happens before the end of April in our district. So every SLT must include this in the month of April. So it's imperative that families understand these conversations are ongoing this month specifically. As you all know, the dates for the return, as you all know, the date that we must provide the feedback is May 8th. Any critical feedback by May 8th is important. I will also note that you're also welcome to email me even further detailed feedback if you wish to my email address, ralvare@schools.nyc.gov, so that I could submit a more detailed report and triangulate that information from the superintendent's level to the central level to further expand on your views and concerns as it relates to AI and the playbook. We encourage all families to provide as much feedback as possible and to have conversations at your school level about what's being used and how it's being used now and where we are at the school level. And we encourage parents to ask questions about whether or not some of the programs that are used that are AI, excuse me, sorry, that's been a little bit. The AI are being used in schools and if it's gone through the IRMA process. Okay. So that's it for AI. Katina, I don't know if you want me to pause here to answer the question on AI or you want me to just finish the report because I have a few more slides and it says.
I think if you want, you can finish the report and then we'll come back.
Yeah,
We'll have
great.
lots to talk about.
Perfect. So next slide. Summer updates. Next slide. Summarizing key updates. Offers released on April 21st. Acceptance deadline. Parents must accept their summer rising seat by May 5th. And programming begins July 1. We encourage families to accept offers as quickly as possible to secure their particular placement. On this slide, you will see all the information as it relates to the processes. And just as a note, high school tentative dates actually start July 9th all the way through August 17th because theirs have to do with accreditation of credits. Right? Everyone else, you can see the information there. Next slide. We are hosting our, it's not on there, but that's okay. I'll just say it here. We're hosting our hiring fair. We want to highlight the district hiring fair is going to be on May 5th at PS 456 on 489 State Street, which is our newer school. We're going to be hosting it in the gymnasium to attract as many new teachers as we possibly can. I know there are still questions about class size law. We know what's been happening in the media. I asked today at my superintendent's conference, just so that you know, they're close to finalizing. We have, by the end of this week, I have about 5 schools that just have to confirm what they actually put on paper. They actually have space for in their schools. Why that might be a question. I'll give a perfect example. We have campus K293, which houses our Forum Hill School, where it's our 6 to 12. They share the campus, for example, with Summer Success Academy. Remember, we worked it out with Success Academy to get the additional spaces. It's not on the BUP, which is the building utilization plan. I got it done. we do have the space. So that allows us to respond to the city for class size and say, we do actually have the space. And there were a few other schools that we do know have the space, but in their utilization may not necessarily come up as the actual space. So we just have to clarify those last questions. I want to say, hopefully by the end of April, we will know about the class size reduction. So in an attempt to get some of the best teachers right away, we're doing our hiring fair on May 5th for District 15. So anyone here who would like information on that, please reach out to Michelle or Brenda for the flyer. It's also on the PowerPoint presentation where you can utilize to share with your friends, colleagues, or colleges that you may work with or know of that are looking for teaching jobs in District 15. Next slide. We're just going to review really quickly. I'm going to touch on it. If you have questions on it, I can address it. Basically reviewing where we are in terms of progress towards our district comprehensive education plan. So across priorities in ELA, we're on track in improving outcomes. We're on track for climate, where we're seeing reductions in incidences and suspensions. We're on track for math, and the targeted groups, particularly the Black and Latino populations, are making the progress. And in college and career readiness, our K-2 students are participating in financial literacy courses, and students who have saved for college accounts are on track with our goals. Our school counselors are working to complete the IDRs, which is really the one area where, even though we're on track, we're still slightly behind track, but we will make it by the end of the school year with our middle school and high school students for by June 2026, which is what the date is for them. So basically, we're on track with all of our parent engagement goals as well. And you can turn it to the next slide. And it's okay. And these are just information about these. The one where we're not fully on track, as you see in red, is the percentage of middle and high school students with an IPR as per STARS. STARS is the system in which we enter the data that happens between the counselor and the student to say that this happened. Schools have been doing it, they just may not have entered it in the tracking system. So we've now been having our student service managers collecting that information to make sure they're on track. So as it relates to STARS system that collects that information, it doesn't look like we're on track yet. But outside of that system, internally, we are on track to meet that, if that makes sense. Next slide. And keep going. So not on track. Go back. As you all know, chronic absenteeism is critical across the city. You've been seeing for the past maybe 2 weeks. I'm glad that this has come to our attention, or not our attention, but DHS's attention, Department of Human Services, where we are now getting traction on ensuring that students are not going to be moved as much as they have been being moved. We got word from our chancellor this morning that he is working towards changing the outcomes for busing and what that's going to look like for next school year to ensure that there is less travel time for students. And I just want to touch on one of his priorities, which is true integration. That's an example of what he's talking about when he talks about true integration as well. How are we ensuring that these programs exist closer to home for all students to serve? I'm proud to say that in District 15, we've done a phenomenal job at ensuring that our kids are traveling less to get to programs that they need in all areas. And we've done a significant amount this particular year with a lot of D75 programs, Horizon, Nest. And so we have the gamut in our district where kids are traveling a lot less in our district. And based on need for next school year, we're meeting the needs for our district in both middle school and elementary school. So I'm really proud of that work that we did. And I want to continue that partnership. And if all of you don't know, we have our celebration later on this year for Aladdin, the 24th and 25th. I had committed to CEC, which I spoke to our president and informed her that going forward for next year, we're going to work in D75 schools that sit in District 75, being a part of all of our productions and events as well. We've already started that with our musical, right? Because we have 418, Rosa Almada School has always participated with us, but we're going to expand it to the other sites within D75 and District 15. So we're happy about that. Let me go to the next slide. One. And that is Aladdin. Next slide. Virtual town hall. We're hosting a virtual town hall on April 21st. The hot topic there is OPT. Office of Pupil Transportation will be presented. As shown on the flyer, translation services will be available to ensure access for all families. This is where parents can share their concerns and grievances around the OPT process, the entire process, what it means for students in temporary housing, what it means for students who are special needs, what it means for the issues with missed trip, students getting ready to go on trips and buses not showing up. All these things can be brought up at OPT. Omni cards and everything else can be discussed. We brought this topic up. We originally did the topics at the beginning of the year. We revised and sent out a new survey to find out if there were anything new that people wanted to know, because things changed in time. And OPT was at the top of the list, which is why we invited them to have conversations. And then our next slide, just as a reminder, the deadline is April 17th, this Friday, for the New York City School Survey. Don't just be the parent who surveys because you're angry about something, but if you like something that's going on in your school, please make sure you fill out those surveys too, because we want to hear what great and wonderful things are happening across our district as well. So we encourage families to strongly complete those complicated learning environment surveys. And that's it.
Thank you. All right, shall we open it up to public comment? Oh, sorry, that's you. No. I would love
It's
to
like you
not.
do it.
Hey, hi. I'll just start it on Zoom.
Yeah.
We don't have anybody. Well, I'm sorry. We do have people, but. But we would like to start on virtually attending. Anyone have comments or questions? You could raise your hand or put it in the chat. Or. Right now, we will come back. Thank you. I give the opportunity for our council members to speak and.
I just have one question this time around. Quick question on the chronic absenteeism. And, I see, I'm sure, as you mentioned, right, this is citywide, but it notes that it's, the goal is not on track for disadvantaged Black students
Yes.
nor disadvantaged Hispanic students. How does that compare to economically disadvantaged white students or economically disadvantaged students as a whole?
I don't have the information in front of me, but historically, the reason why we address the Black and Hispanic students is because historically as a district, they have had a higher chronic absenteeism. So right off the bat, I can say that the chronic absenteeism for Black and Brown students is much higher than the white counterparts, regardless of economic disadvantage or not. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. A main factor and factor that why I'm so happy with the announcement that DHS is working with the DOE now and thinking about how we're rethinking students in temporary housing and making sure that we prioritize that they are going to schools immediately in the vicinity that they're being placed. Why that's important is because that's where we're seeing a huge stagger of number. And disproportionately, we have Black and Brown students more in temporary housing than we do their counterparts in our district.
Mhm.
And so that is playing into it. I want to be clear though, that while that data says that we're not on track, it doesn't mean we won't be on track by the end of the school year. And this year we're 0.2%, 0.2, not 2%, 0.2% off from last year at this exact same time. While other districts across the city are at larger numbers of percentages above. So we're keeping a steady and even decreasing in many of our schools. But the impact from what I'm seeing mainly has to do with the idea of transportation. More particularly when it has to do with a student who has to take school bus service and has to rely on school bus service. Or transfers from one school to another, and now it takes 5 to 7 days for them to get that service. And while there's alternative ways for them to get to schools, it becomes so cumbersome and complicated for parents that they just keep them until that service is restored. And then even when it is restored and they say you're gonna get that service that day, inevitably something could happen where the bus doesn't go that route or gets there not at the time that the parent expected, and it's just an adjustment phase. But that phase causes absences. And those absences amount to numbers, and once those numbers get to a place. The other aspect for our district is that when it comes to non-economically disadvantaged students, our families take advantage of trying to leave 3 or 4 days before a vacation time so that they're saving literally thousands of dollars by leaving a few days earlier on a vacation time. And we've been trying to curtail that as much as possible, but that's very difficult when families on a fixed budget and trying to actually enjoy vacation time. So we always try to ensure that if that's what's happening, that they're ensuring that the other times that the kid is fully in school and doesn't miss that 18-day mark for the school year.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. It'd be great to see for the not on track.
Mhm.
What you mentioned, you alluded to it, what the percentage or what the comparison is to last year.
I can share that with
Been
the
some
CEC.
improvement.
I can share that with you guys directly. Yeah.
Thank you.
And there was another question in the chat echoing the same thing, just wanting to see data across all races for chronic absence.
Usually that data becomes public, not even at the end of the school year, but about 2 to 3 months after the end of the school year, because in New York City Public Schools, according to the state, we have opportunities to revise attendance. So like a kid can be marked absent and really have been present, or a kid could have been marked present when they were really absent. So there's a phase in the school system that allows to make adjustments for that attendance. So any child who wasn't marked present, for example, in a certain period of the day or whatever it might be, for like example, middle school, at the end of the year, if the school doesn't correct that, that turns into an automatic absence. So I'm giving you a missing hitting target.
Yeah.
I can give you what I see on a day-to-day basis, but even that's not always accurate because, for example, 100% of the scanned sheets of the attendance bubble sheets would have to be in. Sometimes I see 98.2. That means somebody has to correct something the next day, if that makes sense. So it's almost a moving target. So I can give you a range, but give you an actual number and saying that that's the true number, I'd be dishonest to tell you that because that number could change 2 days later as a result of some new data we have. But I'm more than happy to share it. I can tell you that right now, as a district, we're at 20.1% chronic absenteeism. And we are at 93.0% of attendance. That's significantly higher. We're number 4 out of all 45 districts. Number 4 ranked. Yes, number 4 ranked. 26, 20, 25, and District 15. We outrank District 30, who used to outrank us 2 years. Or it could be outranked. Losing track. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah. So yeah, and chronic absenteeism, we're considered very low compared to our counterparts across the city. But that doesn't mean anything to me because I'm not the superintendent of the rest of the city. I'm the superintendent of 15, so I still got to get that number down.
Thank you.
So.
What you call chancellor or something?
Yeah.
We finished with the.
There's one more question.
The Chinese parents were asking or summarizing, are you guys selected by according to the children's grade or how's their performance in the school, or how you guys selected? Because they want to know who will be selected. Is it depends on their performance or depends on their grade in the school?
Selected for.
What's the summarizing? What's the
Summarizing.
selection criteria for summarizing?
Right now, Summer Rising is applying for the Summer Rising program. There isn't, so for the Summer Rising program, from my understanding, there isn't a criteria. The criteria is for summer school students who are mandated to go to summer school, those automatically get seats. The Summer Rising is not a criteria. You apply for it based on where you want your child to go. Now,
But also the parents, they want to know, that's for example, how many seats for the kids in this district?
yeah,
Or
so
it's
it doesn't.
selected, how they would
It doesn't,
divide it.
so how it works is each school has a certain number of seats available. Each school varies. And each school varies based on the number of CBOs we can place at that school and the license in which the number of staff members to student ratio they can have. So for example, one school might have 3 CDOs, and that might equate to 250 seats. Another school might have 2 CDOs, and that might
what's a
equate.
CBO?
Community-based organization, thank
Yes.
you for that. A community-based organization like Center for Family Life or Beacon. Those after-school programs are what takes the extended summer rising program. During the school days, your regular summer school program. Students who get selected for summer rising go to your regular summer school program and get the extended enrichment afternoon time to 6 p.m. So all kids could apply to that. What happens then is we have the mandated students who then have to be placed first, and then the remaining seats become the seats that become available to the students for summer rising. And based on where parents select, the difference with summer rising too, and I just want to be clear on that because you said District 15, so I want to be clear on that. If I work downtown Brooklyn and I want my child to go to this school, PS 38, and they're not going to summer school, but they're going to summer rising, and I live in Sunset Park, but I want them here because I work across the street, you could apply for this site. There's a possibility you get the seat, but there's also a possibility you won't get the seat. So they're gonna offer you within your geographical area if you don't get the seat that you asked for.
And I think the question is that, lottery, is it first
Yeah.
come, first
Oh,
served?
yeah, it's usually lottery, but there are caveats sometimes when there's siblings and things like that. Now, what I have recognized in our district, which remember 2 years ago, there was a whole tit for tat about, oh my God, my child didn't get a seat. I'm worried I'm not gonna have a seat. At the end of the day, in District 15, every child who wanted a seat in the District 15 site got a seat in the District 15 site. Because what happens is people register for the summer rising, they accept the seat, or they register for it and then they don't accept the seat. But if they do accept the seat, and then they don't show up because the parents decide we're gonna go away, or we decided to move out of state, or we can't afford it anymore, whatever the situation is, I'm not gonna send my child anymore, then that seat becomes available. And that happens every year. So we've always had the ability for kids to be able to get a seat if they wanted a seat, and usually within the school, that's within their school community. So, but thank you for the question.
I think there's a follow-up. So they want to know, like, as you mentioned earlier, that it depends on each school, how many seats they are available. Are the parents able to see any platform saying, showing that, oh, this school has like 100 seats, this
No.
school has, no?
No.
Oh, okay.
But on the wait list, they do have a number, like if it's say the child is on the wait list.
Yes.
It shows you what number, what rank the child has, depending on what's.
And it's just, again, it's just lottery based.
Yeah.
So if all of us are trying for the same school, it's just like random.
Yes, it's gonna be lottery based, but it will defer to the students who are zoned within the schools that are going to that site.
Okay,
So I have shared with you on several CC meetings up until now,
right.
what's the site and which schools are selected to that site. So kids who have those sites will probably get a priority over kids who are not from those sites.
Last year, children in shelters, or shelter students were prioritized.
They're always prioritized.
Okay. so
Those students are prioritized, and thank you for bringing that up. Those students are prioritized, and special education students are also prioritized.
Thank you.
And our schools also have special programs. We do have ESY that's gonna be running in our district. It services District 15, District 16, and District 17, and District 13 students, but we host it because we have more of those students. And we still have the Nest and Horizon programs that will be running at our sites. Horizon at 136 Middle School, and Nest at 88.
Okay, thank you for that question. We're going to go to other members of the committee who have questions for the superintendent.
Sorry,
Nothing about AI.
yes,
This is your time. You can give me any time you want, but definitely give me the loop.
I'm sorry to be this is more of a comment than a question. I know you can't answer these questions right now, but I want to say it in a public setting, to make sure that this gets back to.
Yeah,
you know,
and we will,
problems that-
they're taking notes now, we
Yeah,
definitely share these
perfect.
notes, so yeah.
So first of all, I fully understand that AI is being used in so many ways, many of which we don't even have control of. If you do a Google search, it's routed through AI. So I know that like that horse is out of the barn or whatever that metaphor is, like it's, I don't think that it's practical to say we simply will not use generative AI. I don't think that the technology that we're already embedded with allows us that choice anymore. That said, once guidelines are in place, I think it is very hard to make them more restrictive over time if we realize, oh no, we should have proceeded with more caution. And this was one of the things that you and I talked about earlier around that green light category. I just don't see how we can say that anything is a clear green light, even something as simple as email communications. I mean, that's human relationships, you know, and so to say that it's a straightforward go ahead to do this or that using generative AI seems like an unwise stance to take from the outset. I think that you know, what we see in many of our existing ed tech platforms is also very problematic. I just learned today of a lawsuit against iReady for misuse of data. And so to say that student data will never be sold or used for training, I just don't think we have that control, you know? I don't think it's up to the district and up to the state or the city. I don't know that FERPA laws really prevent these companies from misusing student materials. And I also am really curious to know what the union stance on the policy is. I think AI very often right now is used as a first step toward demanding significantly more labor from workers. So I'm really curious to know what the union thinks as well. I have many other concerns, but that's all I'm gonna say.
Please feel free to send it to me directly, Tina, and we'll make sure that we can add that to the concerns. I echo this as well. Listen, as a superintendent, I see this on a day-to-day basis when I get 100 emails a day from 100 different parents that use the AI tool to document their stance on something that isn't just right, but they're still documenting it because AI is helping them generate what they want to say to me in a documented way that uses legality and other things to make their argument. And that's why I stated that just because AI says it doesn't mean it's factual or right or accurate.
And I think it's really hard, you know, to
So I hear your point when, I hear your point when, I'm sorry, but I hear your point when you say about the green light and saying that things like communication are 100% go because those things, to your point, need to be fact checked as well.
Yeah. And I think, you know, saying that the outputs need to be vetted by teachers, like that puts a lot on teachers too. I think looking at a lot of these materials is really complicated right now. And so that was also in my earlier remarks, I said something about professional development, but I mean, even folks who are on the cutting edge of this stuff don't always know.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the same thing that we've been dealing with as a district as it relates to controversial topics in our city. Leaving the judgment to school leaders or teachers leaves an uncomfortable space where somebody's still always gonna feel slighted. And based on where your opinions or where your thoughts and philosophies are on a given topic, you might be considered right or you might be considered completely wrong. And I think you're right, and I thank you for that because we will share this information.
Thank you.
Oh, you're right. She's the parliamentarian. I'm sitting there. Neutral.
So I have a lot of the same comments, but maybe not as articulated, well articulated as Katina. I mean, I guess the overarching thing to me in hearing all of this is kind of who wants this pushed forward this quickly other than the ed tech companies and the tech companies? Like why? I understand that we do need to, it's there, it's out, but nobody wants it in the greater world for the most part. It's being pushed on us by these companies. That's why it is everywhere. We're forced to use it when we use Google. We're forced to use it all over the place. I realize the cat is out of the bag, but I do think that, you know, at least in my personal business experience, we have just said absolutely not, like, this isn't even that helpful, we're just not going to do this, we're not playing this game. And I guess I don't totally understand why we can't also do that here in just to the extent that we can. I noticed that the greens, as far as I can tell, once we're going through the slide, those are all really non-child facing, and I think that's very telling, that all the things that we're saying are green and okay, do have to do with communication, they have to do with teacher planning, they have to do with adults working with these programs, they're not child facing. I think we should really look at programs that are being rolled out to students, that none of them are in this green, really, that the green doesn't incorporate them. I also just want to call out that, Katina said it too, that there is no way to protect student data. I mean, there's plenty of laws that say that my health information can't be compromised, my bank information can't be compromised. I get a letter almost every day telling me that I have another free thing for Experian because my data is compromised everywhere. And these companies, their business model is to take the data and train it. I don't know how we can prove that they have a completely siloed systems for New York City public schools that doesn't allow you to bring in.
So I can I just comment
Yeah.
on that? So my college where I work has set it up, and our ed tech people have run all these workshops and trainings, and they've set it up supposedly where when you are logged in through our school's accounts and you use the approved generative AI systems within those accounts, that it's encrypted and protected. If you go outside of it, you're logged in your personal email, it is not. And so I feel like the technology is there, but it would
My
be.
hospital data is also.
No, totally.
Protected.
No, I get that, but I think that.
But also these programs that are saying, okay, you start learning and then it's generative, you're learning at a pace.
Right.
AI is putting you to the next thing. It has to be keeping your data somewhere.
Right.
It can't just be flushing it because the whole thing is iterative.
Right.
Tara, I think we're in a conundrum because I think, I go back to what Katina said, the cat's out of the bag, right? There is no way to stop. I think what we as a system are trying to do is trying to create some guardrails so that while we know and recognize it cannot stop and that this is our children's future, that the jobs that they're going to have to be able to face are not the ones that we are teaching them for now, because the future is going to be all of that. That we have to, as a system, responsibly try to put as many guardrails as we possibly can, while recognizing that we're in a uncharted waters of what's to come from this and through this. You know, we've seen Meta, we've seen so many other things get sued, you're seeing all these things happening. But the reality is, we can't prevent it, and it is the next generation of our children.
Prevent it, but we don't have to wholeheartedly embrace it.
Yeah, and I sit there with you.
Right, like we just don't have to push these into the schools, not really knowing what.
Yeah, and I sit there with you, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that from our stance, and I think I said it when I was sharing early in the presentation, our stance is not to push these AIs into schools and say, you're all gonna use this, and this is what we're gonna do going forward. We're saying what's working, we want to continue to explore, but at the same time, we also want to create guardrails so that we're not allowing all these things just to be loaded into schools, as school principals have autonomy for their schools, for them to select whatever they decide or deem is the right thing to use in their school. So school A will use this, school B will say, no, we're not using this, school C was. They were telling me to stop, I guess that's a good, but you see where, yeah, she's gonna stop anyway, so there you go. But you see where I'm at, so like, I'm wholeheartedly in agreement with you in what you're saying. But I'm also, like, two things can be true at the same time, right? I also believe that we have a responsibility as a Department of Education to say, we know this is out there, this is where our stance is as of right now, and I think that, that feedback that you're given is critically important to give, especially what you said about the green lights. I thought that was really critical, and we will share that feedback as well.
I have one, sorry, just the teeniest, the PTA meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Are we actually, like, someone is presenting this, like this?
The same information that I'm sharing.
Cause like, who's doing that?
We had our FLT today, and it was the exact same slide.
But
Yeah.
SLT is one thing,
Yeah.
PTA, like, who's speaking? Cause ours is gonna go off rails, so.
Oh, I know yours. I already know what's going on. I know it's gonna go on there. I know it's gonna go on there, and that's okay. Listen, we're expecting people to be angry. We're expecting a lot of emotions. We're expecting a lot of criticism. That's expected. That's what this forum is for. I appreciate the CEC and the way you're approaching how you want to share your frustrations in the most productive way, because I hear it and I'm not in disagreement. So I appreciate the approach you're taking. I also recognize that not all my parents are going to take the same approach. And our school leaders recognize that as well. They are there to lead. And sometimes parents come in very angry, very 100 at a school. It is our jobs to put our professional hats on and conduct ourselves professionally and ensure that you can be angry, but you still have to be professional and respectful. And our schools are expected to receive whatever information is being presented. And we're expecting you to put whatever comments and statements you have in the feedback, but also to provide to the school, which is why I'm collecting the minutes, which is why we're collecting information, so we ourselves can triangulate every emotion that exists. So I'm not here to say that I need everybody or anybody to agree with me or the New York City Department of Education. What I'm saying is, here's where we are, here's where we want to go. We want your feedback. Tell us everything. Tell us all the things that are keeping you up at night, getting you angry about this, frustrated. We need to hear it, because that's the only way we can try to move forward in creating as many guardrails as possible. And clearly you've shared a lot of things that are in the green that could possibly be now in the yellow or even in the red. And I think that's critically important to make clear so that we have a better understanding of our approach.
So knowing that we don't have answers to all the questions, I want to make sure we have, sorry, to take over your space in the question. Yeah.
So you have a question, and I'm gonna have to start the timer. We're really going. And also on your answers.
Okay, you want brevity. You want brevity, Kim. Kim asked me for brevity, so I'm gonna go back to my notes.
You wanna go first?
Sure, and you can go ahead and you can set the timer.
You didn't go yet?
No. Okay, I'll go after that.
Are you sure? Yeah. Okay. Just a follow-up to the conversation, I will say, I come at it from a slightly different perspective. I'm not averse to AI. I think there are instances where it can be useful and create more efficient processes and be a time saver, especially where there are limited resources, right, in the school community. It is important, right, as I think we all agree, that it be used responsibly and that it be regulated. So I think the flip side, if the DOE does not articulate a policy and guideline, people may be using it already, and they may be using it irresponsibly. And so that's why I think it's important to collect this feedback and move forward with a responsible policy, right? Like in my own work, for example, people were using ChatGPT left and right for all kinds of things, experimenting with all kinds of apps and platforms. And we did the research and we developed a policy, and we said, actually, these are the approved platforms. These are the platforms that are not approved. And then we did trainings, right? And these are the ways you can utilize this. And these are the very clear ways you cannot, right? So for example, I think, and I don't know what stance the DOE will take, but one way to make sure student data is not used inappropriately is not to enter student data into these platforms.
Yeah,
right?
and actually in the presentation that I didn't go into detail for each bullet, that is something that teachers can enter their own data points without student information around that particular data. So
Right.
Class B had 27%, Class C had 37%. Of something, right? To think about what you can do with that, as opposed to this individual student had this, that individual student had that. it removes a little bit of that, but still allows them to analyze.
Right, so I think that medium is important. So there are safeguards, right, where you can maybe strip identifying data, like personally identifiable information, but still use it for analysis. So I think that will be very important moving forward and very clear instructions for all staff, right? Like with examples too. This is what to do or not do, because otherwise that's where mistakes happen, I think, where there's ambiguity and lack of clarity.
That was great. So I am actually kind of in between. I'm in between Kara and the hybrid. I personally don't use AI very much, but I know that the cat's out of the bag. And in my capacity as a teacher educator, I know that I'm preparing students to enter as teachers in a world with AI. And so my college has done a lot of work around this. I did a 6-week training on it. I figured out how to, I'm trying to find ways to integrate how to support my students and teaching them about effective strategies and guardrails for what they can do with their students. And so, I think when I looked at the guideline and I filled out the feedback form, I think that DOE is taking the right approach, but I think I agree that we need to err on the side of limiting. And I also did notice a lot that it was very teacher facing, right? And I was very troubled by some of the green light stuff in terms of the teacher facing things about let's use it for planning and this, and you can get ideas, but this requires, and this is where I think the focus needs to be. One, let's shift most of that green just to yellow. And I think that even if you don't plan on using AI or doing it with your students, that there need to be experts who are training every single staff member across the city. And I think that needs to happen ASAP because AI is exploding. And so that's why I do think it needs to happen now because it's just going to keep getting bigger. But we also need to address the student side of things because they're already exploring and starting to use it. And so I think that, trying to maybe work with, and I know not every school has tech teachers, but starting in the technology classes at a lot of the schools where they introduce what it is and how to use it and what's acceptable and what's not and how to sort of safeguard, and that's my timer. But I think it just needs to be explicit and strategic and erring on the side of starting with minimal, acknowledging that it's not going anywhere. So let's figure out how to use it as a tool, just like we were talking in our SLT today about when Wikipedia started and the internet, as educators, we had to learn how to help our students still learn how to research, right? When the calculator came out, math teachers had to figure out, how do we use this as a tool and not, replace the thinking that's happening. And this is just a bigger version, I think, of both of those that our students are already using and teachers are already using. So it's about how can we be thoughtful and strategic about it without just pretending like it doesn't exist.
You were good.
I know. It's like the Academy Awards being songs.
I usually get that.
Yeah.
So, and we have. Yes, I do, but I will go after you because mine is not on AI.
What?
Her question, she got those information from the other parents, not about the AI, but they do have some questions about it. They were wondering why, there are many parents, they have language barrier. However, DOE didn't provide interpreter or translation documents for those parents. They actually asked the school. However, they still didn't get any answer. And they also consider that's the reason that many meeting or many as school, whatever, they don't participate because they have a lot of language barrier. So she has the same experience when she attended the CEC meeting. She did request for the interpreter 3 days before the meeting. Until even the day before, she didn't get anyone. So she was the only one who has language barrier, she has to speak by herself, but she wasn't able to fully complete whatever she wanted to express to the people. She was trying to help the kids, like they can get the free bus or something, those information, but she wasn't able to describe more clear what she wanted to say.
Yeah.
So that's unfair for her, even she put the request, they still told her, oh, you don't have it, even the day before, you don't have it. Until even the day she was there, they still tell her that, oh, the interpreter was coming on the way. No, until she speak, no one come. So why that happens?
I'm gonna clarify that, so that should be clear, that it wasn't a school meeting, that was actually the PEP meeting.
Yeah.
The panel for educational policy, Camille Casaretti, who sits on the PEP, who represents Brooklyn, made a statement about it and made it clear that it was unacceptable. And the entire PEP agreed.
Good.
I spoke on behalf of Kinshaw because we ended up translating some way in English, and I spoke with her by my side. That should have never happened. Everyone agreed with that. So I have apologized, but I'm formally apologizing in front of CEC. That should have never happened to you. But as it relates to a school community, every school, particularly a school that has multiple languages that are spoken at a school, receives translation and interpretation funding. Those schools are required to access a request for translation. So Principal Hurst at 169 can request a month in advance for any meetings that are being held at the school to have someone come in and do translation for you all. Furthermore, any presentations that are done at your school that are presented to the community should be translated in the main language that are spoken at that particular school. I think I've been modeling this not only for my principals, but I think citywide. I think I am the only superintendent in New York City Public Schools right now that translates the PowerPoint presentation that we present to CEC in 4 main languages, including English, to our community. And we make sure you get it at the same time you get the English version so that everyone's getting equity of the documentation at the same time and sees it at the same time. I think it's something that we need to continue to push for. And I think that it's something that if I'm hearing that my schools aren't doing, I will make sure that on my April 21st, right?
That's right.
April 21st Principals Conference, I make it clear that they all have translation and interpretation funds. More importantly, I just sent them all an email today about spending their translation and interpretation funds. So it's unsettling to me to hear that a school that has a large Hispanic and Chinese population not actually using translation services to have parents be informed of what's going on in the school. So I'll look into it.
Thank you. Okay, so who's gonna time me?
I ain't doing it.
My question is regards to this wonderful presentation, about project-based learning. This is PBL happening in District 15.
Yes.
How are these schools, I would say the educators on the ground, able to fulfill the mandates that they have regarding reading and math curriculum and still engage students in this concrete learning, application type learning?
So it's in
That's a rhetorical.
Oh. Yeah, you're right.
In a sense, to bring it to the surface, and it's kind of like my working hat group, which I'll let you later.
I did 30 seconds.
I didn't notice it, I was just so that's one of the issues we're addressing on the working group. How
are we doing it?
And so my real question is, will you provide me and Kara and, no, it's really my working group portion. So just me, any schools we can visit?
Yeah.
Or principals?
I want to connect you with my project-based learning team at the district level.
Okay.
Who coordinates with the schools. So this isn't just the schools alone. The district level has a committee that works with people at each of the schools that work on what it means to be project-based, how to engage, how to incorporate. So all that training happens at our district level with member from every single school.
But with all due respect,
Yeah.
we don't wanna meet with the district. We wanna meet with the teachers.
I get that,
And,
but in order for you, your question was about understanding how did that process go along? You can't get that directly from a teacher because it was a bigger process than just the teacher. But if you just want to go to schools, by all means, I can send you to.
I wanna see, 5 students, not the students, but 5 classes or classrooms or teachers that felt like, okay, I was able to do this.
That you can go to any school.
Well, we need your.
You're a CEC member, so I wanna, yeah, no, absolutely. I wanna clarify. You're a CEC member of this district and you represent the district's parents. You were elected to be part of this team. From me, all I care about is just letting me know that you're asking if you can come to these particular schools in a CC, but you can email the principals directly. Hi, I'd like to come in and talk about XYZ. I spoke to Superintendent Alvarez, everything was fine. Always, by all means, you're more than welcome to visit any of our schools, especially around that topic. I think that you bring it up. It's easy as like on a regular day, if it's not today, you could just say, Raphael, I was wondering if I can meet with 5 schools across the district, and I'm gonna respond to you. Sure, send an email to those principals, CC me, or let me know which schools you wanna go to. I'll let the principals know you're gonna come and we'll reach out to them. Perfectly fine with me. Any of you have access to our schools and you're more than welcome to go to any of our schools at any given time you want. Yeah, I wanna, yeah.
Did you speak?
No.
How did that happen? I'm so sorry.
She said, can you guys tell the Mandarin interpreter who was doing simultaneous speak louder? Because she couldn't hear it clearly.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm done, so that was.
Yes, this was just about what we were talking about for the budget that every school gets for
Yes.
education. Does that also go to the PAs and PTAs?
So no, so that goes to the schools, but as I've done before, PS 24, we had this issue. I went to a meeting to meet with the PTA, and I had parents translating English, what they wanted to tell the parents, and then stopping and having somebody else say it in Spanish. That shouldn't have happened. So at that time, I directed the principal to use her translation funds to provide translation for her PTA, because that's what the funds are for. And so she directed to have that. Now, you can get that through translations from New York City Department of Education, but there are also vendors that New York City Public Schools allows us to use to get those particular services. Let me just be clear with this. There should be no school that doesn't provide translation services if a parent states they need translation. It is mind-boggling to me that a school would want parents to participate in participatory things at a school level and not provide them the access. And we have that. We spend thousands and thousands and thousands of DOE money for translation. Sometimes we don't have anybody here, we have the translation. We should have that at our schools so parents have access. And so I'm being very firm in saying any school that is not helping accommodate translation for parents when meetings are being held, please let me know, because that will change immediately.
I think it came up in our working group meeting. One of the parents there is also on the president's council. She's 39's PA president, and she has no idea how to get an interpreter, where that money comes from. So we want to make it clear for all the PTAs, because I don't think that
For a president's council, it's a little bit different. Let me look into the resource for president's council, because that's a separate meeting, that's separate from the PTA. It's just all the presidents from every school meeting together, that's separate. And I don't know, I don't even know if they have a budget or not. Let me look into that. But as it relates to the schools, PTA things that are going on, as long as what the other things, I will look into. I do believe that the PTA president can utilize funding from their PAPTA to be able to provide translation so that they can actually conduct the business of the PAPTA at the particular school. But let me just get deeper into that, and I know that Aguilar is in here somewhere, so maybe Aguilar, if you can give me a response to that. I know you're in the chat, I did see you. Anthony,
I think she was talking more about the 39 specifically, like our PA meetings.
you should be able to get translation.
But not every school has, like, our PA could probably cover it. But not every school that needs
Let
it.
me, let me ask Anthony to get a response to that going forward.
Thank you all for your comments.
I'll be better with my brevity Kim next time. I'm gonna time myself.
That was us though too this time. Yeah.
Well, because you guys were making statements this time to go on the record. Well, you're making statements to go on the record, which I appreciate. So thank you. Everybody have a good evening. Do you need me to stay or?
Yeah, I think it's 6:11. That'd be great.
At the worst side. I'll tell you later that.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you much. All right, thank you so much, Superintendent Alvarez, and many thanks to everybody for the thoughtful comments and questions. These are really important topics, and I'm glad we could have a discussion about it. We will now pass the mic virtually to May DiPiero to talk about the city budget relative to public schools on behalf of the Coalition for Equitable Education Funding. May, are you there and ready to come off mute?
Yeah, can everyone hear me and see my screen okay?
Yeah, looks good, thank you.
Okay, perfect. As mentioned, my name is May DiPiero. I am Policy Associate at Advocates for Children of New York, and today I am presenting on behalf of the Coalition for Equitable Education Funding. And then if you hear a tiny human in the background, it is my daughter, and I think my husband is wrangling her into bed somehow. So the Coalition for Equitable Education Funding, also known as CEF, first came together about a little over 2 years ago to kind of sound the alarm about important education programs in the city that were funded with temporary federal funding during the pandemic and were at risk of losing their funding. So since then, we have been coming together each year to advocate for important education programs that students need, with a focus on supporting students who need the most support. We have been very successful in our advocacy efforts, and several of the programs that we have advocated for over the past few years have seen their funding baselined in the city budget. So I won't go through these, but this is just a quick list of programs that we've advocated for previously that are now have baseline funding in the budget. And then some more here. And then just very quickly, so what is baselining? So baselining just means that a program essentially has guaranteed funding. So instead of funding for a program expiring year to year and being renewed with each budget, in order for a program that has baseline funding to lose funding, someone would have to go in and take the funding out. So yes, so essentially a program with baseline funding continues unless leaders decide to cut it. We believe as a coalition that baselining is important. As you all know, it is harder to run good programs when they are only funded for 1 year at a time. It's hard for someone to feel called to stay in a position if they know year to year that funding for their job might go away. I know that I would probably, as someone who has a family, would want to have a more secure plan. And then as far as like actual program quality goes, knowing that you have a certain steady line of funding allows you to plan more effectively into the future. And then as advocates, we should not have to fight each year just to keep current funding. You know, we want to be able to build on core investments and advocate for new programs and new services. As you know, our students need a lot, and it's hard when you're just fighting for the bare minimum. So currently, as part of our CEF city budget advocacy, we are focusing on a handful of programs that currently have funding set to expire at the end of this fiscal year. So they would run out of funding at the end of June or as early as July of 2026. And this is a quick list, but I will go through each program a bit more in detail, but yes. So the first one is Learning to Work. And this program provides support to overage and undercredited students to help them earn a high school diploma and develop a post-secondary plan. I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with Learning to Work, but this is a program that youth who are in it and youth who have been in it constantly come to us and ask to advocate for. They really appreciate it, especially if they are students who themselves are parents or have other family commitments and need to spend what would typically be the school day working or supporting themselves or their families in other ways. This program has really done a lot of good for a lot of kids throughout the city. Another very popular program is the Sensory Exploration Education and Discovery Program, also known as SEED. And this one provides students who have intensive sensory needs with small group support from occupational and physical therapists. And working with OTs and PTs in this program really helps students learn skills like being able to focus in class, sitting still when it's appropriate, and so on. Probably a hot topic here are the infant and toddler seats. So these seats went in high need communities and there are about 200. They are just getting up and running this January, and the funding for them is set to expire this summer. And restorative justice. So this one is a bit tricky. Right now, the current budget for restorative justice is about $12 million. $6 million of those dollars have been baselined in the budget and another $6 million, so about half of the program, half of the city's investment in the program is 1-year funding. Restorative justice is another one that youth really like. It ties in really well to helping them build community and feel safe and secure in school. And a lot of them credit it with helping their mental health. So a very popular program, I'm sure you're familiar with it, but it allows schools to use more alternatives to suspensions, keeping kids in the classroom so they can build and repair their relationships. And the mental health continuum is another one that I think a lot of council members especially really appreciate. It helps students with significant mental health needs access expedited healthcare, and it's currently at about 50 high needs schools. And then early childhood education outreach. So you may have heard that there are early childhood seats that go unfilled. And so part of a way to combat that is to make sure that parents know about all of the different options that they have as far as finding seats in early childhood programs for their students. And then this, in a lot of ways, got some talk before when the superintendent was still here, but immigrant family outreach. This program was started during the pandemic and it utilizes a lot of different sources to communicate with immigrant families to make sure that they're not left out of critical information about their children's school, their children's schooling, and different programs that are available at their kids' school. So it uses a lot of different options like ethnic media, text messages. You may have seen subway ads in different languages, just advertising that families have the right or have access to translation and interpretation services, and they deserve to be fully a part of their kids' education experience. And student success centers is another one that we are advocating for again this year. It's a program that trains youth leaders and helps them build a culture of college going among their peers and helping them with the college admission process. It's currently in about 30 New York City high schools. So CEF is obviously recommending that the city baseline funding for these education programs, and I do have a QR code here. We just launched an action alert. So if you scan the QR code, you can send an email to the mayor and I believe Speaker Menon and some other key and your specific council members, telling them that you want them to baseline funding for these programs. And then once I'm done sharing my screen, I can also put the link in the chat. And then in addition, we are urging the city to make additional investments that are needed to support students with a focus on those who need support. We know that maintaining the baseline isn't enough, that there is still so much need and beyond need, so many things that can really help students. And we want to make sure that we're making that clear and that there's room for that as well. And so this is about the state budget, which is kind of an abrupt pivot. But when Katina and I were first talking about this, I fully anticipated that the state budget would be finalized by now. It is not, it is late. So at the beginning of the presentation, there was the big list of programs that are currently baselined in the city budget. And a lot of those programs are actually supported by foundation aid. Foundation aid is the largest unrestricted source of funding from the state to school districts all across the state, including New York City. And it's a per pupil funding formula. So districts get a set amount of money per each student that they have. And that funding gets multiplied based on different modifiers. Like if a student is an English language learner, they get an added weight. If a student is economically disadvantaged, they get an added weight. And students with disabilities also get an added weight. So as part of our state level advocacy, CEF was recommending for some additional changes to the foundation aid formula. One of them was adding a weight for each student that is experiencing homelessness or students in foster care. This is a proposal that would help all districts across the state. It wouldn't hurt any of them, but it would especially drive a lot of additional funding to New York City public schools. This was not included in the governor's budget proposal, but it was included in both the state and assembly one house budget proposals. And additionally, we are asking or recommending that the state increase the weight for English language learners. And I'm also happy to provide additional information about foundation aid and our recommendations on that. And then we have another action alert here that would just email Governor Hochul and key legislators telling them that you support our recommendations for the foundation for changes to the foundation aid. And I believe at least Katina gets CEF emails, but if y'all wanted to sign up to get actions from us or more information directly from us, I have a QR code for that as well. And I'm also happy to put direct links to that in the chat. And then that is it for me. I'm sorry I went super fast. I was trying to be mindful of the time. But yeah, I'm happy to stick around if you have questions, and I can also put my email address in the chat.
Thank you so much, May. All of these different budgetary components are so complicated to try and understand, even from, within the various positions in the system that we occupy. So we really appreciate, I think every time we hear more, we're able to untangle a little bit more of those webs. So thank you, Kim.
Do we have any questions from our virtual audience this evening regarding the presentation on budgeting, state funding, city funding? May questions?
And I think we can, still ask questions here if still time.
Okay, so do we have any questions here from the city? The CEC members? Say city council.
Yes. May, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you for that excellent presentation. I think it was so helpful, really broke it down in a way that's easy to understand. And it's honestly very scary, all the programs that are at risk and are clearly very necessary for our students and our communities. I'm curious about, one thing we've been grappling with, as a council is how, as a body, what actions we can take to fully support, funding the full formula, but not just funding it in its current state, but adapting it, right? So that the weights are what they should be. So I guess that's, one question I would pose to you and maybe even to think about, like what, advocacy efforts, what other advocacy efforts we can engage in. The other question I have is around the formula itself. So kind of my understanding and kind of reading through some of the resources is the formula hasn't changed much since 2007, right? And as a result, I think it's resulted in the state providing like 300 million less to schools or something ridiculous. So what does it look like to make sure not just that we're adding the weights, but that the formula is like continuously revised to make sure that it's meeting like inflation costs, right? Cost of living change. Like, I think that another concern, right? If we, let's say the state, the assembly, right, budgets, the ones that actually advocate for changing the formula, are we in the same place in 2 years, like, where we're having to adjust the formula again, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I'll start with your second question because I think it'll be easier to go from there. You're right. There are many parts of the formula haven't changed since it was first incepted. Um, I do want to be clear, though, that there is already an inflation factor baked into the formula. So each year, I think it's an average of 2 or 3 years, an inflation factor does get added. So that is already set in. Um, let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to remember. There are a lot of parts to your question. I think so. Part of our state budget advocacy has been saying these are when we started last year with advocating for changes to the foundation aid formula. We had a whole suite of things we wanted to see changed, and it was clear that that would cost a lot of money. So then looking at what would have the greatest impact for New York City schools. Um, I'm not sure how familiar y'all are about what happened last year with the budget, but you're right. It was about $314 million that New York City public schools did not receive that they would have otherwise received had the governor's limited changes to foundation aid not go through last year. So last year, the governor proposed changes that ultimately went in that changed how we measured poverty in the formula. And that was a big issue for New York City because on paper, a lot of New York City families look wealthy. And if you don't take into consideration, because look wealthy because it's based on the federal poverty guidelines. And if you don't take into consideration that we live in New York State, which is an expensive state to live in, and that we live in New York City, which is an extremely expensive city to live in, the rates of poverty get skewed in the wrong way. So you're right, that was about a $314 million difference. Had no changes went into the budget last year. This year, we think the changes to the formula that can make the greatest impact are the weights for students in temporary housing and students in foster care, as well as an increased rate for English language learners. Throughout our advocacy, we have also been saying that there are additional changes that need to be made to the formula because schools look so different than they did in 2006, right? In 2006, Barack Obama, I think, was not our president yet. So totally agree with you. And that has been part of our messaging and pushing, is to make sure that there is review of the formula regularly. And then to your other question about what advocacy efforts would be most impactful or that you can take now, I say continuing to push. You can use our action alert, pushing your state representatives, but then also bringing this conversation to your council members. Councilmember Aviles was here earlier and she spoke about the state budget, and you can continue to tell them like, this is something we are concerned about. have their counterparts in Albany, they speak with them, and this is something that they can bring up with them as well. I hope that answered all the different parts to your question, but let me know if not.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Kim had to step away for a moment. Are there other questions from any other council members for May about the budgetary questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. This stuff always feels almost impossibly dense and complex, and just really appreciate your expertise and clarity in sharing.
Yeah, of course. And I'm putting the links to the action alerts in the chat, and then I can always follow up with the actual QR codes if that's easier when you are sending materials out to parents. So that, and then I think you have the slides, right? Yeah, perfect. And then feel free to email me if you have any additional questions. If as things are marinating, if things come up, you can always reach out. Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Of course.
May.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a great
good rest
night.
of your day. Great. Sorry, just still sort of mentally processing everything from May's presentation. That brings us to near the end of this agenda. I'd just like to open it up for general public comments. And I know we have a representative from Community Board 2. Betty, are you still in the Zoom, and would you like to speak? Great.
Yeah, here I am.
Thanks for being here.
Hi, great meeting. Thank you for having me, of course. For those who don't know, Community Board 2 represents the part of your district, School District 15, that is on the side near downtown Brooklyn, which would be the Pacific Street, 26138, the new school on State Street, High School for the Arts, 447. That whole area relates. We're not all coterminous, community boards and school districts. So we have a Youth Education and Cultural Affairs Committee meeting the third Tuesday of every month, and we're eager to hear what's happening with your district, especially with those schools. And why are we involved? Because we're involved with transportation when there aren't crossing guards. We're involved in other areas as well. And the most important thing from our point of view is the district statement of needs, where we're required by the city charter to indicate the needs of our communities. And over the years, we've gotten input from District 15 schools as to what they need in terms of bathrooms, parks, etc. Those aren't funded immediately, but they get put in a queue. They get noticed. So it's important for the community school district and the district, the community board office to work together. And additionally, I would like to invite everyone from your community, but especially those closest to CB2, but anyone. We have an annual health fair, which is a remarkable event. We overtake Fort Greene Park. We have over 50 vendors from hospitals, social service agencies, health insurance. We have talks about maternal health care. We have had prostate screening, blood donations, anything you can think of in the realms of health, mental health, student voice. We've had student performance, nutrition, dental. I could go on, but you all have to go home tonight, so yeah. So that is May 16th in Fort Greene Park from 10 to 4. And everyone's invited. And I would like to know whom in particular can I send a flyer to that it could be distributed to the schools.
Yeah, if you could send it to the main CEC email address, which I'll put into the chat, and copy me, that would be great.
Great, and put that in the chat too. I want to get it right. Katrina, thank you. And are there any questions? Do people have questions about that or anything else we do in the community board?
That's incredibly helpful. Thank you, Betty. If there's a link that shares some of those event dates that you could drop into the chat, I know you'll share the flyers as well, but if there's
Yeah, I'll share the flyers. I don't have the link at hand, but yeah. Yeah, and we look forward, and we'd love to have you, Katrina, or other members of your CEC come to our meetings at any time. We always have space for your voice.
Thank you. We appreciate that welcome. Thank you, Betty.
Sure.
Are there other general public comments before we adjourn this portion of the meeting?
So, any comments from CEC members? Did you do that?
We did that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I'd like to move to adjourn. Okay, great. So the calendar portion is adjourned at 8:26. Let's take 5 minutes and everybody get some water and stretch your legs, and then we'll come back for the business meeting.
I second. Yeah, second, we adjourn.
Very
Good night and thank you.
Good night, Betty. Thank you again. Folks who are joining us on Zoom, we're just going to take 5 and then back. Nothing.
It was me.
Oh, it was on mute. Oh, sorry. So we'll call the business meeting to order at 8:35 p.m. Tara, could you do a quick roll call again? Councilmember Maria Aguilar. We have to do roll call again. Okay, yeah.
Councilmember Angelica Cesario. Councilmember John Davis. Councilmember Ken Eby.
Absent.
Councilmember Angelica Jananandhan. Present. Councilmember Basil Crandall.
Absent.
Councilmember Christina Rogers.
Present.
Councilmember Ken Wongwest. Councilmember Jim Dashus. Councilmember Kara Marley Muller. Present.
Great. Thank you. So we have quorum again, which is great because we have items to vote on. So, first, many thanks to Shanice and Tara for thinking through this entire batch of minutes, stretching all the way from September through March. I think they look great. I would like to move to vote to approve the minutes as presented in the agenda.
Second.
Do we do a roll call vote for that?
I think we can.
Do a hand.
Yeah.
Yes. All in favor of approving the minutes as presented? And it's unanimous, so all of the minutes are approved. Thank you both so much. This is like the most on top of our minutes we have ever done.
Thank you, Shanice. Thank you, Kara.
Okay, and now to the more complex topics. First, I wanted to bring forward again the resolution on social media that we talked about a couple of months ago. I have made a handful of changes to this, which I'm presenting in a clean copy because it was just getting really difficult to follow with all of the changes tracked. But I do have the track changes available if anyone would like to see line by line. But just to summarize what the changes are that I've made. So first of all, there's another lawsuit against Meta that I have now referenced in this document. I tried to pare down and group the different issues that were in play just to make the whole resolution clearer. And at the end of the document, one of the concerns that folks had was that there wasn't really, while there was a call to have New York City Public Schools deactivate these accounts, there wasn't really a call for what they should be doing instead. And clearly there's a need for communication. And so what I've proposed here is that we resolve that New York City Public Schools must develop a plan to migrate to more responsible platforms. I've included a few possibilities that are there with protocols that are aligned to relevant education laws and the mission and vision of the school system. I think one of the main concerns that remains around this resolution is that these social media spaces, I think particularly Facebook and Instagram, I don't know that X is feeling particularly useful to anybody these days. Sorry to editorialize. I miss Twitter. But I know that a lot of parents do get time-sensitive information from those accounts. And I think one of the things that I've been thinking about is that this is really like a two-pronged issue on the part of New York City Public Schools, that they are using these platforms because it's easier, right? But this also shows that like they have not effectively used the platforms that are available to them. Like they've got to get better at reaching parents in a timely way when there are school delays and closures, when there are, things, even things like, I don't know, like announcements from the chancellor, things that are being shared right now through Instagram is where I tend to learn about them. There's no reason that should be the place that we're hearing about things first. So I still would like to see New York City Public Schools move away from these platforms. I think that this goes hand in hand with a lot of the AI topics that we were talking about earlier, just as far as general responsibility with regard to technology use. But I'm curious where others are landing on it now. And then we can see if we can. So I guess I'm opening it up for public comment.
We need to start with public comment, right?
Yeah, is there anybody, sorry, I'm taking the job again.
I came off Zoom. I didn't remember that we did.
Oh, that's okay. I can just ask if there's anybody on Zoom who would like to comment on the resolution, now is your opportunity to do so. And I will open it up to CEC member comment, but if questions come in on the interpretation lines or on Zoom, please feel free to make note of that in the chat and I'll circle back.
So I'll make the first comment and then I'll go back into my role. I read it through and I appreciate, because it really sounded really different to me. I was like, is this the same document I saw before? So I appreciate the work that you put into it, and it was definitely very concrete in terms of allowing us or the general public to see what the detrimental pieces are and what research has shown regarding the use of these social media sites, as well as it gave some suggestions and actions for New York City Public Schools to do moving forward. So I wholeheartedly support this resolution. Thank you.
I agree with Jim. I think it was well thought out. I also feel that part of the issue with Meta is the way it harms our immigrant communities by hate speech and by targeting them and working with agencies. So I think I agree, we shouldn't be using it, especially the misinformation that families and convert families.
Okay. Anyone else? Just raise your hand. You have a comment or a question?
Well, I can just share the question that I asked privately, which I agree. I think this is like very different from the original version. And I think I love that it provides alternatives as well, right? Rather than just kind of a blanket statement. And I think one of the main things we talked about when this came up initially was that these platforms are a method of communication. So I think that's the important piece here, and that I think this has a little bit more teeth, right? That public schools develop a plan to migrate to more responsible platforms. I guess the only question that came to mind is like, is there anything that's that we lose by these accounts being deactivated? You know, I think of you know, when I'm deciding where I want to apply to pre-K, for example, right? I will go to a school's Instagram account or their Facebook account and look at pictures of their community events or get an understanding of the community. So I'm just thinking of the examples I see how they're used most often. So that's the question that came to mind. Is there anything that we lose? But maybe there are alternatives, because I'm not familiar with these other platforms. You know, I also don't know if they're closed to the school community or open for others to see. I know the other thing, I know lots of PAs and PTAs use social media platforms as well. Like if we have a school fair event, usually there's pictures posted, right? That you can look through, like, oh, so-and-so, or oh, right. So I guess that was do we lose something around community building or, you know, recruitment efforts if we deactivate these accounts? But I mean, I'm very persuaded to vote to approve this, but I just want to think about, you know, is there anything that we lose?
Yeah, I think that's a really fair question. And I mean, I think there are trade-offs, right? I think there are things that we lose. I think, you know, what we're specifically calling for here is for New York City Public Schools, like centrally to deactivate. Which is not to say, you know, all of these same things still hold true for individual and school communities too. And if we could, you know, move everybody collectively to a different platform, that would be great. But it's not saying, you know, that a specific school should not share those things. And
Can we specify that though? Because
Yeah.
I don't think that that's necessarily clear
Oh,
in the language. I think it just says New York City Public Schools, and I think one could read that, but that would include all
got it.
all schools
Yeah,
within
that
the
makes
DOE,
Mhm.
or one could read it as central, right? So,
Okay.
so if that's, because those are two very different things, right?
I would just say that if you're, for me, when I look at different schools and, you know, do research about, you know, where I want to send my child, I go to the school's website. I rarely go to their Instagram. I feel like both the website and the Instagram it should have equal information. And I feel Instagram is a little less formal, maybe. A lot less formal, but I feel like I get enough information from their website to satisfy me. And believe it or not, schools do put videos on YouTube too, like of ceremonies and events. So that's another source for schools. But overall, you know, I feel like the website is the best option for me. I'm trying to say. Anyone else have a comment? Question?
I guess I just thank you so much for taking the time to go through this and streamlining it. I think you took a lot of these things into account. You know, I think, you know, I hear what you're saying completely about what are we losing, but I do, you know, I found the arguments persuasive about just not, like, there are some alternatives. They are maybe not perfect, but they are not supporting these things that the school district should not be supporting, and the school district should not be lending its considerable weight in support of. So I do think that there is something lost for sure. I'm not gonna argue that there isn't, but the weight to me does fall on the right thing to do is not to put institutional support towards those negative behaviors that are harming the same people that we're trying to communicate to.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is like when that remains the most effective means of communication, that's where you're drawing people to.
Yeah.
And at some point, like the responsible thing to do is stop.
And then hopefully there will be something that, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's better.
I'll just say, for our school, I post on the PDA Instagram. I don't think I get anyone who hasn't already seen like the parent square messages, liking or I don't think anybody goes to our Instagram for information. I just post it there. But when I'm scrolling through, our PA account follows all the other schools. And so I love seeing like, oh, this is what that school is doing. That gives me an idea of what we can do. That's all I really get. It is nice to see like this is what's happening in our community, but there's probably a better way, a safer way to share those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But as far as giving out information to our school, I don't think anybody goes to our Instagram and that's just for us, from what I notice.
I also think it's like, depending how it's being used, because I know there's some schools that just post stories or post, like events that are happening at your school, but don't post pictures of the children. But there are other schools that do, so I guess it depends on how it's being used as well. I feel that the website's the best way to go. to get the information, to make sure that, parents are not being misinformed or not that they are, because usually everything gets cited before it even takes social media. But I just don't think we should be supporting that much.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna follow up, just to clarify, like, I wasn't trying to say, like, I make decisions based on a social media account, like, I do think if you're looking for factual and objective information, the school website is the best place to go. But I do think you get a sense of a school's community by the pictures they share, you get a sense of the demographics of the community, you get a sense of, the type of events that they hold, and then tells you a little bit about the school and their values. That said, I'm sure there are other ways to share that information, so, that's really all I was trying to say. I'm not saying like, this is the determining factor. But I do think adding the central piece, I think, makes a difference.
Yeah, I looked back at that, therefore be it resolved line, and it was unclear, as written. So I would love to, in a second, move to vote on this, with two changes. I added the word central in two locations. One is whereas central NYCPS information should not be disseminated on platforms that are unsafe for minors. And then under the first, therefore be it resolved, it's very echoey in here. Therefore be it resolved that CEC 15 demands NYCPS deactivate all central DOE and NYCPS X and Meta accounts. With all their meaning, not just their Facebook account, but also their Instagram account or whatever, rather than to imply that all school accounts should be deactivated. Can I motion to vote? Second. Okay, great. And you want to follow up and then you'll call vote? Oh, wait, so you can go up? That's you. Sorry, Kara. Okay.
We can switch roles tonight.
Okay. Councilmember Ana Maria Aguilar.
So you can vote, yes, for the resolution as amended, or yes. It's hard that you're first on the list. You're rolling it very well.
Councilmember Angelica Cesario.
Yes, as amended.
Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Yes, as amended.
Councilmember Kenny is not here. Councilmember Angelica Janagandan.
Yes, that's amended.
Councilmember Katina Rogers.
Yes.
Councilmember Kim Wanless.
Yes, as amended.
Councilmember Shem Bashu.
Yes.
And Councilmember Karis Roman Mueller. Yes, as amended.
Oh, that's great. Thanks.
Yay.
Everybody. I almost didn't bring it back.
Thank you, work on it.
And we can move on, yay. All right, so working group updates. Let's hear it. So Kim, Angelica, and I can speak for Basil since I was at the operations and infrastructure meeting. Who wants to begin? Okay.
It was actually Angelica and Carol. I mean, not Angelica, Jonathan and Carl, they're also, so. Our working group is the instruction and programming. We decided on 4 different categories. Under that umbrella is anti-bias. There is technology. There is mine, which is mandated curriculum such as arts, sciences, reading, math, and there is after school programming. So we had 2 meetings. We decided on when is the 3rd. And at our second meeting, we decided on different groups. And I'm going to speak to the curriculum group, and Kara will speak to the technology group, and we kind of tabled the after school group for another time when we get kind of more people around that topic. So in terms of the curriculum group, we decided, and it was helpful that Jonathan actually told the working group what we have, what the capacity we do as a committee. Not only like we went through like our role, but it was very clear like we're an advisory group. CEC is advisory, we're advisory to the CEC, we don't make any decisions. And resolutions are pretty much not where we're limited to, but where actually sometimes we make the most impact. Because I kind of explained also that once there's a resolution, we pass it around to other CECs and maybe it's passed or whatever. Even though the particular topic that we're addressing is germane to CEC, because the issue at hand is that project-based learning is one of the cornerstones of District 15, and it seems to have some pushback or, issues in terms of practical implementation because of the mandated curriculums now, whether it's I believe in the middle school or with wisdom. So teachers are given these mandated curriculums, so how are they not supposed to go when teacher directed curriculums around projects, right? So that's what we're looking at, and we are in the process of doing research around creating a resolution to the effect of maintaining that project-based learning foundation in the schools in District 15. And like I'm pushing the group to do a lot of research and not doing research ourselves, but like just you guys do there, referring to research that's already done and where it really allows us to what the goals are, which is student performance, high level student performance and engagement at the same time. That's where we are with that. So Kyle, if you want to speak to the technology?
Yeah, just quickly, we had kind of two breakout rooms on two different Zooms because we couldn't get that to work, but
Message me, I was seeing people sign in.
but we the technology group talked about that the issue of technology is just very, very wide ranging, and there's a lot of different things this incorporates, and it also goes back to the curriculum mandates as well. There's this pretty broad reaching. I think the immediate goal was that group wanted to modify some of the already passed resolutions on AI and bring it to us to see if we wanted to adopt it, so to try to do the work to make it District 15 specific and to see if that's something that we would pass as a body. So that is their goal. I think that's the way that they're looking at it, is taking bite-sized pieces of technology writ large and just trying to do the research and say, okay, what can be done? What can we propose? How, are there speakers that could come to a CEC meeting to educate the public on different topics? Yeah, that was the tenor of the conversation.
Great.
And then the other sort of subcommittee that I was hoping to be a part of, but nobody else wanted to be with me. I also had to get rid but I'm getting a call out. Is on after school programming, particularly for middle schools, but also elementary. And so if there's anybody out there in the ether or on Zoom that wants to participate, I'd love to have you be a part of that. And I know, this came from schools and principals that I've been working with. And so I do plan, and even if nobody joins, it's something I'll probably try to just do in my capacity, to work with the different middle school principals to figure out like where we can advocate to get more sustainable support for middle school after school programming.
That's great. The person who was talking with us at the legislative breakfast about after school, were they Have they been moved in?
They were not yet.
Yeah,
You had meant, and I don't remember,
Yeah.
there were so many people and
I
I
know.
forgot
I'll,
their name.
I'll look and see. I've got an email somewhere from them.
That's great. Yeah. And, two questions. One, I'm just curious what attendance was like.
Was it 10?
10 people.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
For
then,
both?
Very.
Very bad. The first meeting was fire.
okay.
I'm tempted to watch the video.
Yeah. No, it's people came passionate, like that's what we want, like we
We
want
get
people
that,
that, you know.
right at the one foot at a time, we're
Yeah.
passionate about
Yeah.
issues. And Kim, just so I understand, is there a concern with project-based learning that it's taking
Yeah.
away from the?
It's,
The issue,
Right.
Okay.
yeah, the issue is that the district foreman levels were going down as far as I understood. And all schools are mandated by Superintendent Alvarez to implement the citywide curriculum, right? We know well, not but elementary schools are required to do it. Schools are not. Yet Chancellor Alvarez is saying that he wants all the schools to do it. The concern is, I myself am an out of district parent. I chose District 15 for the reason that it is a project-based learning school and my kid has projects every year and centered around. But the fact of the matter is, how do you do the project-based learning, which is an engaging curriculum, and make sure that students still meet certain benchmarks and performance standards in the eyes of, certain decision makers? I guess the best way to go is to do this mandated curriculum. And there are many parents who feel that that would totally negate or has totally negated what, they're seeking in terms of project-based learning.
I can speak more to this. I mean, this is coming from particularly Harvard Middle School, which I think we've talked about. I can't remember.
But I wouldn't say that because I've always had this.
Yeah. So what I'm saying,
This back, like my
Yeah,
first meeting with
yeah.
Jeff Everett, I brought it up. So it is an issue and it was discussed at length at 146 elementary school. This SLT had been having conversations around like testing and what does that require? So I wouldn't pin it on one school or one issue.
No.
But I know that that was a drastic change for them because their entire curriculum was, this particular way, and then they felt like, and they need to speak to it. That it was switched without their permission but I kind of don't want it to be an issue of it was switched without permission. The issue is how do we do both?
Exactly.
Right?
Matt, it's a lot of people who feel like the project-based learning is being stripped away and being replaced with curricula and, superintendent Alvarez.
Curriculum.
Right, yeah. But it's evidence-based curricula focusing on foundational skills and as an educator, it's hard being handed curriculum that like you have to teach this. Like I get that, it's hard. And so it's sort of finding that balance because they've run the data in the schools, in particular with the math rollout of this curricula, where some of the foundational skills are not being taught in the way that they want. Students they're not performing and the scores are going down and down and down and they're doing fun projects. Even some of the principals have talked about this, like they're doing fun projects that are kind of cool, but when you go back and talk about the skills that they learned along the way, they're struggling with some of that, right? So it's about like, how are we supporting the teachers and educators and students in integrating them more effectively? And I think that's at the core of it. Like, there's no discussion of stripping project-based learning. It's just like, how can we better support it while teaching the foundational skills that all of our students need?
Right.
Did every school get professional development around project-based learning?
I believe so. I mean, that's what Superintendent Alvarez was talking about. They have a district person who is training people across the district in every school.
Are they still in the process of doing that, or is it like completed, like every
So
school?
that's what I'm gonna pronounce.
Yeah.
They did, email me the name of the person, Valerie, to speak to. So in, visiting the schools, those are some of the questions I would ask, like, who was trained, how were they trained, as well as is there a way to train where it's linked to what's in the curriculum? So various questions.
And you're visiting the schools or? the
I would
members
be
are
on
wanting
visiting
to?
schools,
Okay,
the working
that makes
group
sense.
members can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they probably could with permission.
Yeah.
But
I think that I think it would be best for you.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Could open a can of worms.
Right.
Yeah.
you don't want to do that.
I don't know.
Yeah,
worms.
who else would like to share about their working group?
And your interpreters, no, but you have that as one. For our first equity and language access working group, we did not have interpretation. And that is on me. We were trying to use the Zoom one. It's tricky because we're using our personal Zoom and it's not like official DOE. So how do we schedule that? Where, like, now I'm talking with Janice to get it worked out, but that might affect other working groups also. And then it's like, people aren't really registering for these meetings. We did have the original registration, but there were people on the meeting who I guess someone shared them the link or something. So I don't know what languages we need. There were 3 people who joined the call who weren't able to participate. So we're gonna get the transcript translated for them and then do better next time. But it was really embarrassing not to be able to have that set up. But it did bring out a good point. It's like, this is coming up in PA meetings. Nobody knows where this funding comes from. So yeah, we had maybe like 6 people join the call. Let me look over.
And while you're pulling that up, I mean, something that I shared too is that like it's super humbling when stuff like that happens. And also, like, if it were easy, we wouldn't need a working group on it, you know, like it's still happening at the level of the PEP meeting, which is citywide. That's embarrassing. So if we can, you know, work out some of these questions and find solutions that are lightweight and that, I mean, for all of those,
They should all have a Shanice, because we always have a.
that would be amazing, but like when you're talking about all volunteer groups, you know, like PTAs, like, I think for all of what Superintendent Alvarez is saying about the availability of interpretation and the availability of these funds, I don't think that happens in practice. And so figuring out how we can navigate that is great.
They brought up, asking someone from the Office of Language Access, like, to do a presentation, and us having info sheets that we can give people, like, these are the resources that you have. So a good group. One thing, and this, maybe I'll save this for later, because Tingsha and I went to Rise Up, and they offer the space to the community all the time. Chinchilla wants to have an event or like kind of monthly meetings or where it's less formal, where people feel more comfortable voicing their concerns and just to learn about different things offered in the district. We don't know if that could be a CEC run thing, or if this is, I think Chingsha, your idea was if it is a CEC event, then we would just need to fill out paperwork with Rise Up. And if it's just Chinsha holding these as a personal thing, then the CEC could come and present about what the work we do and yeah. So that was, I think that's.
Oh, thanks, Shani. Yeah, Anthony, go ahead.
Hey, I just heard what was said. The only problem with that, if it's CEC led, it would be subject to open meetings law.
Afraid of too, no.
So
Thank you.
that's not formal. If somebody else calls the meeting that is not a CEC member, then it wouldn't be subjected to open meetings law. So say, for instance, I don't know, the superintendent calls for this meeting, then it wouldn't be subject to open meetings law. And then you can support with the superintendent leading it. This is just an example. But you can support and it won't be technically CEC led. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we can find a way around, but that does answer the question, that we wouldn't be filling it out as the CEC. It would probably be Chinsha hosting the monthly event and then us going to just talk about what we do.
But she still need someone, the CEC member, come to support her during that event. Yeah. And answer the questions to the parents.
A great idea.
I think something less formal could work. Yeah, but that seems, it's a little separate from the working group.
Great, thank you. Should I move on to operations and infrastructure? So we had 2 people come. I was really happy. I didn't think anyone. They were both from ES 456, which is in this area as well, the Elizabeth Jennings School. It makes sense to me that they came because their school is on this like terrible traffic triangle of like Flatbush and
It used to be called the Triangle.
Oh, I can see why. And there's like construction of this huge tower happening on one side. Like it is just a safety nightmare over there. They have one crossing anyway, so they were concerned about safety and also about transportation. It's an unzoned school, and they are interested in establishing bus routes so that students from all over the borough can get there. And I actually don't know very much about bus routes for unzoned schools. You might actually know more than I do because isn't BNS?
It's
unzoned?
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't have to talk about it right now, but we talked about the fact that we want parents to be bringing their experiences from their particular schools, and also that the goal of the working group is to think about like district-wide supports and interventions.
Right.
And so we decided, as you know, as the 4 of us, that we can focus for now on transportation. There's lots of other pieces to operations and infrastructure, but that felt like a place where there's clear parent interest. We know that busing has been a huge issue at the PEP this year and previously. And so we're gonna meet again it was gonna be a month from when we met. I don't know where time is right now, but we're gonna try to maybe bring in someone from PIST, the parents, I forget what it stands for. I'm looking it up, sorry. Parents to Improve School Transportation. Best acronym. So we were hoping to bring in some people who work in advocacy spaces around this already, to hear from them what they've already been doing and what we can build on. They also really wanted to have, more folks there. And so we were also just talking about how we can get the word out. Now that we have each had a working group meeting and have a sense of what the focus is going to be, I think we can send some more targeted communications. In this case, make it clear that we're going to focus on transportation, mention if there's going to be a speaker who's coming, that kind of thing. So that's as far as we got, but it felt like a useful starting point for thinking about like what the group can actually do, what people are interested in, and how we want to structure it.
Based on the location, it sounds like it might be within community board too, with what Betty was talking about.
Oh, it might be.
I know she
Yeah, I think
mentioned
they are.
transportation being
Yeah.
something they address, so maybe they can join.
That's a good idea.
And that community board represents where 456 is.
Yes. Yeah. And I feel like she has talked about crossing guards at that
Yeah, that spot.
specific spot as well in past
So they
years.
don't have crossing guards?
They have one, and they need more, yeah. But yeah.
We have two, and just like 3 cars.
That's a brand new building, they just built that thing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So yeah, that's where we landed.
Cool.
Great, okay, so if there's nothing else on working groups, Angelica, is there any finance updates that you want to share?
Yes. If I'm reading this correctly, we have $14,000 left. And we only have a couple of months. I think, the gear. If everybody could send me their sizes, I have sent out the email, but I didn't get a ton of responses, so, yeah, then we can get that ordered. And when Tisha and I went to Rise Up, they let us know that they also do a backpack and school supply drive. So I don't know, like, if we'll vote on it but it's on it can be on our radar now, because I know that that's an activity that we wanted to do, and now we have this. They've done it for a few years, so it would just be contributing, well, not just, but we could contribute financially and then also help on that day of the event, with distributing the items.
Nice. When do they do it? Do you know?
It's right before school.
Okay.
But we had gotten an email from another person asking for help, with the same kind of event. But we didn't know anything about them, so Rise Up just feels like a natural fit.
Yeah.
So is it something we could vote on next?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. So I was just looking at the year-end close dates, and I think it's April 16th.
Yeah, I was gonna share this.
What does that mean?
We would need to vote on everything today.
And when do we have to use it?
Well, there's still district-wide family events, there's remaining $3,000.
When do we have to use it by?
If we were voting, cause we have to vote on the event, so then.
How much would you want to do? But so you can, so anything over $250 needs to be submitted by Thursday.
Anything over,
$250.
okay, needs to be submitted by.
And we have 6,000 left
We have 3,000 left for these events.
I'm just looking at the spreadsheet, because it said 8,500 and we've only used 2,500.
We've used on that line, it says we've used almost 4,000.
Okay.
And then I have the budget amount as 7,000.
Are you looking at that or not?
So just to make sure we're looking at the same thing, so there's the updated budget spreadsheet, but then there's also the budget ideas spreadsheet. I think Jonathan and I were looking at the budget ideas.
Oh, okay.
But is it not quite a one-to-one match with the other?
No, I'm looking at like the updated budget spreadsheet. Is the 7,000 the total that we had after we moved over that money?
So for the district wide, the 7,000 was added to. What's remaining is 3,000. So what's it gonna do?
The 7,000 that's there, that says that's the budget that we had, we moved over, did it go up to 8,500?
No.
But then I think I know why we're confused, because there's also line 9 for family and student events. Not the district-wide line, but the CEC 15 line, which is 1,500, so that would be the 8,500 altogether.
Then we have 4,500.
Yeah.
How is the 1,500 one, the family and student events, different from the district-wide?
That has never been clear to me.
Well, it would be
That one's for us?
yeah, and then district wide will be like superintendent's office.
Got it.
Also.
Meaning that 1,500 is if we want to host an event just for.
But not just for
Not
our
for the-
group, but for,
No, for the public,
but we're the hosts.
Right.
So then we have $3,000 left and we'd have to vote in 2 days if we're gonna give that to, but. I haven't been contacted by anybody else, like I have reached out to, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's just like, were we still factoring in the oral history reading event, or supporting immigrant communities? Are these on the table still? Are we tabling this for next year? Like,
I think the limiting factor is time.
right, I know.
Yeah. A lot of them were that we would have to plan them ourselves.
Completely. I just want to put it out there.
Yeah, I was hoping to find initiatives that already have the ball rolling and who we can give this money to, because there's not a lot of time to plan anything else.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I said it 3 times, it's still not clear. We have to vote before tomorrow and fill out some paperwork, but when do we have to spend the money by? We have to spend the money.
Well, okay, I have to submit the purchase order by 16.
Got it, okay.
For all.
I don't think that's happening.
I mean,
I'm very.
Yeah,
if we did just,
$3,000.
if we did it just for backpacks,
Yeah.
right? If we did $3,000 for backpacks,
To rise up, I can call them tomorrow and we
we
said.
could get that done, right? I mean, it's by we, I'm saying, don't.
Well, and then we vote on it?
Well, I think we voted on it.
We voted, right.
We voted to.
Yeah, to give the remaining $3,025.40 to rise up for the backpack.
So it would make sense.
For hosting the event, right?
Right, so the amount of money you want to spend $3,000 backpacks, we would have to have proof. And, I don't know what Rise Up is or anything like that, so I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah.
So,
They're a community-based organization, and that's that part.
okay. So what funding line is it in? Is it in supplies? Is it in, services?
So the easiest way, this is what we ran into with the project event, because if we're buying supplies, then we have to compare prices for other
Okay, so
things.
it's not supplies.
Easiest
I know.
way is for services.
Okay.
And so we went through an intermediary.
Okay. So I know all of those details. I just need to know the answer. Is it supplies or services? If it's services, then you can give it to Rise Up on the condition of providing these services. And at an event that CEC will be there, we're inviting parents and so forth. We're not doing it for backpacks.
Right.
So we can't turn it that way. We have to say it's a cultural event or a community event, inviting parents, and this is their fee for hosting the event. Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, if we need that of, payment that they're making, like stipends or check. I don't know.
Can we though, because if it is a backpack themed event, right? Can we pay them now for an event in August or September?
You submit a purchase order, right, and they get paid later. Yes, right, so in order for the whole payment to go through, I need to have, it's a step-by-step process, and they have this attendance sheet, like depending on what it is, I need to send it through. I don't know if it's happening in August, I don't know how that. Yeah, so the event will take place before the end of this academic year.
But the planning, like if it's for the services, the planning is taking place now. So couldn't they bill us for the service and planning now? You don't buy the backpacks the day before, like they're already talking about these events.
So Anthony is saying no. Anthony, do you want to say a little bit more?
Sure. So it's exactly what Shanice was saying. For us to release the money, she has to check off a box that says that the services were rendered. And she can't do that if there's no proof that the services were actually given. So an invoice, things of that nature. She would have to prove that the service was given or delivered or whatever the case may be.
So the question is, April 16th is the deadline to actually spend the money or to submit the purchase order?
Submit.
To submit the purchase order.
But sorry,
But the services have to be rendered before the end of June.
Yes.
okay, because if the service is helping plan the event, even though the event is happening in August, the planning is happening now, so they could charge for it
No,
now. But it's for,
it has to be this academic year, it has to happen before June, can't happen.
even if the service is the planning?
So
No.
here's what I would propose, because I think there's a lot of unknowns still that we would need to talk with Rise Up about. If this is allowable, can we vote with contingency? To say if we can find a way to make this work, that we as a council would vote in favor of releasing the funds for this purpose. And then if it's not workable, if we can't figure out a way for this to be aligned with protocol, then the funds don't go anywhere. Is that, can I do that?
Sure, I think. Could we also, though, maybe we revolutionize events like this? Nobody does these events at the end of an academic year or the next year.
Right.
So why not throw in a June event that gets you excited about the next year?
I agree.
Right? So we can use the money and then they can, families can come to this event and it'll be great.
Even kids could summarize, like, have kids that their backpacks have been used all year.
You want for summer rising?
It's okay to do it in June.
Especially that summarizing that's prioritized.
Yeah.
Children.
Right.
It's an end of year bash, and they're giving out school supplies for
For the summer and next academic year.
I mean, I think the question would be, does Rise Up
I do that.
have the capacity
Yes,
to write this by June?
But we can vote with the contingency that Rise Up is on board and Angelica will get confirmation tomorrow.
Okay, so let me phrase this motion carefully.
Thank you.
I move to vote that, if we are able to determine a way to support a celebratory event in partnership with Rise Up that meets the timelines and protocols that we have in place, that we support that event with the $3,000 remaining in that line. Do I have a second for that very complicated motion?
I second it.
Okay.
Can you tell me what the exact number is?
$3,025.40.
What happens if it's not possible?
Can't spend this.
it just goes back to the.
Okay. It's getting
Yeah,
expensive.
exactly. So it's kind of our last shot. If we can use it for the good of the district, let's use it out. And if we can't, then take it back. Carrie, you want to call out a hand call though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Councilmember Anne Maria.
You vote yes
Yes.
or no? Okay, I don't want to put words.
Councilmember Angelica.
Yeah.
Councilmember Jonathan Davis.
Yes.
Councilmember Angelica Archibald.
Yes.
Councilmember Katina Rogers.
Yes.
Councilmember Kim Wallace.
Yes.
Councilmember Ching Shu.
Yes.
Councilmember Karis Marley Muller, yes.
Great.
I just thought of something else. I'm so sorry, guys. Those other $1,500, like, that's only if we plan it. Let's say that this with Rise Up doesn't work out. Can we use that $1,500 and plan it ourselves, like do something ourselves?
And get POs out by Thursday? I don't think so. Yeah, just realistically, I mean, I would love to say yes, but I just don't know if I can. I'm
And
sorry.
can I just say thank you?
Yeah.
Angelica, for attempting to make this work. We appreciate you,
Deadlines for the money.
but now we know.
Now we know, yeah. And now we know who to turn to, which is figure out where to allocate the money.
Sorry, Christina.
Yeah.
I think to this work with Rosa. I had mentioned to Katina that in years past, I coordinated a community baby shower. We have a lot of families that, they're in this country, they don't have families, so it's nice to celebrate mothers are expecting moms and moms that just had a baby. I work together with Sons of Park Mutual and other organizations. So in case it doesn't work out, I could take that on. I was actually going to meet with, Principal Osa from 124. I was thinking of doing it there. If that can be done, I can take it on.
That's amazing. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
If it doesn't work.
I think it's just, at this point, it's just the year-end deadlines that are the hard thing, because even if you're planning, which is a huge lift, it would be hard for us to get the money out the door by Thursday.
Yeah.
That said, I'm super excited for what next year is gonna look like, because I think we can plan all these things. You know, maybe we even build in time at our next meeting to start planning next year's calendar.
I was gonna say, I was actually just gonna say, I was wondering if we should just dedicate a large chunk of our August meeting. Because
This is too late, I think.
you think so?
I would say by June.
Yeah, let's see what the next couple months look like, and if we can do it at the June meeting, when all of this is fresh in mind, then we'll see.
I'm not sure, if we talked about it in a meeting that you attend, but, in previous years, the CEC just gave all this money back. And we didn't know that, at least this group, because we're all new, we didn't know. We're like, how can we use this? And so it's only been in the past couple months that we're like trying to get all the money, but for next year, we'll have a place to spend all of that. Send me t-shirts, Isaac, please. No, it's not even windy weather
No, but you walk into an air conditioned space.
I want my hoodie so bad.
All right, I move to adjourn. Thank you all so much. Does anybody second? I skipped over the business, but.
Hold the other, just other thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There's no other.
Thank you. Everyone in favor of adjourning? 9:34.
We had fun today.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much to the interpreters for sticking with us. Thank you, Anthony, for being here.
How are you?
Thanks for the members of the public who stuck it out all the way through. Really appreciate it. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Sorry for being projectors tonight.